Joining us right now.
We need Sean.
From Houston, Texas, the lovely and talented Sean Salisbury. Save us, Sean. Good morning.
Manatee.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
Sean Salisbury. He's not just a dumb jock. He's a spelling bee champion. How are you, brother?
I won the spelling bee in my class, so I was really good. I'm good. Thanks, guys. How are you?
We're doing great. Missed you. Good to have you here. And we got a lot to talk about, friend. Let's start with Jets and Patriots last night. Jets 2-1. And a lot is being made of the Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers hug, not hug, and they spoke a little bit after the game. Now, I want to tell you my theory, and as always, you'll tell me I'm full of garbage or where I'm at. You're always honest. Sean, it really seems to me like it's two competitors and the camera's on them and we don't know what the hell they're saying, and Aaron's trying to change the culture with everybody, including Robert Saleh. Heat of the moment, nothing behind it. He probably said something like, let's hug when, the clock reads 000, and then everybody freaks out like it's Real House Husbands of New York City. You've been under center. You've been in the locker room. You know football culture. What did you take from that?
I have no problem with it. I think the initial thing when you see it in slow motion, we're like, damn, did Robert Saleh say something to him earlier that Aaron, boy, it was almost like, okay, I'm going to get you back. And when I come over, don't hug me, dude, I'm back. I that's initial, but to me, don't care. I think there's mutual respect, heat of the moment. I didn't even hear their full comments, what they said after I saw it, but I don't care. I mean, we make such a deal of those things as long as, listen, if people knew the things that were said on the sidelines that they don't hear or see, they'd be beside themselves on a regular basis. We have so many cameras and the rest. I'm with you, though. I don't think you're full of crap at all. I think it's competitive. It happens, heat of the moment. Aaron's the frustration of the first game and then being out for all this time and coming back. He's a competitive guy, beats to a different drum. Robert Saleh, I don't have a problem with it. Defense, offense, doesn't bother me. Now, if it's a continuous thing and it got in the way of their playing football, no problem. And if they didn't even like each other, I'm not saying that's the case. If they didn't, as long as there's respect there, I really don't care. And nor should anybody else, because I can guarantee there's plenty of guys on the team that don't like each other, but you got to respect them. They're your partners, and you do your thing. Didn't bother me at all. Little push, get after it. Crap happens. And as long as it doesn't fester and it was a one-off, I'm good with it. And it didn't affect their result. And Rodgers may have very well just wanted to wait till the clock was done and go about it. But it's competitive. I'd rather see that than two soft guys that didn't care whether they were winning or losing. I'm all right with it. No harm done.
Yeah, Sean, obviously they brought him there to help take them to spots they have not been in years. When you've now seen Rodgers off the injury, a couple games back, and he's aged, but is there anything that you're seeing that your eyes tell you, no, he's not the same guy, or is this still the same Aaron Rodgers?
I think that he's going to end up being who Aaron Rodgers is by the time, next couple of weeks. I still think a little movement in the pocket. When he had, it's the Achilles. It's like, all right, even though it's a long time later, I remember when I blew out my knee the first time. And the next year, the very first few games, even though in practice you feel it, you still say, okay, am I fully ready? That quick movement, quick twitch, urgent move where you got to, where you got to be sudden. It's just there's a comfortability feeling that goes with it. I've seen a lot of players, a lot of quarterbacks. You kind of tread lightly early, and he'll get his feet underneath him. He's fully healthy. I would fully expect that Aaron Rodgers is going to play at a top MVP type level. I don't know if the statistics will be gaudy enough, but the touchdown to interceptions will, and they protect him. And he is. I mean, they're going to go where he takes them. They are good on defense, better than we saw him the first week of the season. And the quarterback's dynamic, and they've got playmakers at a lot of positions. So I think Aaron Rodgers' game is far from done, and I think Aaron Rodgers is only going to get better. He's good enough to lead them to a division title, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs. I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers. As long as he's healthy, he'll play great football.
Sean Salisbury with us. I am asking you this. I'd ask you anyways, but the fact that you're doing the morning radio show in Houston, Texas, I'm sure this was probably a topic. And again, it's a quarterback question, Sean. How did you read, speaking of body language and different things, what was your take on the C.J. Stroud-Caleb Williams interaction at the end of the game? Is C.J. being a good guy and covering for Caleb, or, again, is that much ado about nothing?
Well, cameras and sound pick up everything. You don't ever get private moments anymore. it is a pathetic narrative. And I've told you many times, I'm a Raider fan.
Yeah.
And I read that the Texans has given us a lot to root about last year and this year and the direction they're headed in C.J. Stroud. And they're really good and they're a fun watch. So this isn't a homer comment by me. It is. And people read into body language. Hell, when you lose a game, even though you go up and see the guy after, you don't really want to do a lot of talking.
Right.
Matter of fact, I prefer the body language. I'm pissed more than I do the guy who's laughing and jolly and jumping around like they won and they just got beat. It's okay to suffer over it for a few minutes at least. So the body language thing, I think that's overrated. Caleb heard what he said, and then he'll quiet. Here's how I take it. It's people, whether it's social media or media narrative or a fan, whatever it is, chasing a ghost here, man, borrowing trouble. It's not that big a deal. And it wasn't condescending because, and I've heard, I can't even remember who said it was people in Chicago or wherever. Well, what's they got? Only a year apart. You can't giving advice like you're going to leave your Tom Brady. No. And anybody that knows Stroud knows that his MO.
Right.
He doesn't operate like that. His MO is simply the quarterback fraternity. Listen, do we always see the right guard go over and say hi to the right guard after a game? No. The one position, quarterbacks always go over and see quarterbacks, right? It's a fraternity.
Yep.
So C.J. Stroud was questioned coming out of Ohio State last year as the second pick, with the test score, and is he a great leader? He dispelled those and played out of his mind. Caleb Williams, the first pick. You heard the stuff coming out about him. So it's he's got some experience to offer him, even though he's only a year older. I took it as not advice, as a support system. Hey, man, you got it in you. You're going to be good. And, you're going to be a hell of a player in this league. Where would we take the negative out of that?
Right.
So you're not allowed. So, and I'm one of those guys. When I played older or younger, there is no age limit on good advice.
Right.
It wasn't a condescending, I'm better than you, dude. If he just said, hey, man, tough ones, you'll never be as good as us. But he's not going to say that. It was simply understanding that quarterback's going through it. Everybody's been through it or will go through it at that position. I didn't take it as anything other than, man, thanks. That was not only from Caleb, I'm talking about from any of us. If you're looking for trouble, you can find it as a broadcaster, a fan, social media. I think it's a pathetic narrative. I think it's silly. And I don't think it was, hey, little bro, watch the real guy go. No, I think it's just advice. And I can take advice from a 21-year-old if it's good advice and advice that I can use. And what he told Caleb Williams was nothing more than support. So you can chase it all you want. I think it's a lazy narrative, and I think it's weak.
Sean, I know they just began the career. We were talking about Caleb Williams here, but Jaden Daniels, too. These guys look pretty promising. Just from your trained eye, do you have I don't know if a preference is right, but what do you think of the outlook of what Caleb could become and certainly what Jaden Daniels could become?
Listen, there was nothing in college that told me on the field that Caleb Williams wasn't going to be a great player. Find me the evidence. For 2 straight years, when you combine 2 years, not just one, but 2, he was the best player in college football. Overall, 2 years combined. Look at the numbers and look what he had to overcome, not because he's a Trojan, and I watched because I was plenty pissed at their defense, but look what he had to overcome. If he scores 40, you still weren't sure you were winning. Caleb Williams was a great player in college. Now, all the other stuff, you don't like nails, hell, if the guy can win, I'll paint his nails for him. I don't care. But there's too much to watch him. He'll make mistakes, rookie throws, quarterback interceptions. Manning threw 28 of them, I believe, as a rookie. So,
yep.
But he's such a dynamic, precise talent. He can throw it. He's got a powerful arm. He's a great player on the field. I think he's going to make Chicago. He's the most talented player Chicago's ever had at the position. Talented. Now, gathering the toughness and elevating people around you, he will. Jaden Daniels got everything you want in a quarterback. He can run. I need to have him quit taking hits in the open field. He can beat you with your legs just like Caleb can. He can beat you with his arm. He's accurate. Good game last week. I think you're looking at both guys. I don't think there's any danger of saying we should not have picked either one of them. Now, as good as they may be, you still need to give them players. Look what's gone on with Bryce Young. He hasn't played well, but they're not any good. That's a team that should be playing on Friday night. So he'll be good. And I still think with Sean Payton, Bo Nix is going to give you some love. I think he's got some ability. So I think we're in pretty good hands with those 3 quarterbacks. So Williams and Jaden Daniels, I think they've got future star written all over them. But what we can't do, well, they're not Caleb. I mean, they're not C.J. Stroud. We got to quit comparing them to the rookie who had an outlier, unbelievable season. Not everybody's going to play like that. If that's your expectation, then, I mean, you can shoot for it as a player, but if us as fans and media are saying, well, if he doesn't play like Stroud, then he hasn't had a good season. Ridiculous. So normally the rookie is somewhere in between Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Some good, some bad, some ugly, some spectacular, and some that give you hope. Both these guys give you hope, and I think that Washington and Chicago have enhanced their franchise with these two picks.
Sean Salisbury with us. Speaking of quarterbacks, as we've been doing this, that's kind of the theme here. Sean, I say this not that you need the credibility, but just to remind people who may not remember the shows, some that we did, where you would be telling me stories about rooms with low light by yourself with a glass of whatever in your hand and pills in your belly and fighting shoulder and back and God knows whatever issues you had. You have done it. You've been banged around. You've gone through the things that a lot of football players have gone through and then some. So you, to me, are uniquely qualified, not just because of that, but also having been a quarterback, having been the best athlete at USC in your whole life, thinking of yourself as a Superman, if you will, as you've said in the past. If you're sitting down with Tua Tagovailoa, one of the differences is that I'm pretty sure you didn't have $130-something million guaranteed coming to you. With the guy having a young family, but also just starting his football career, if he said, Sean, advise me, what do I do here? What would you tell him?
Well, here's one thing. Let me tell you about injury real quick about that. Here's why it's from us. It's easy from a distance for guys, and I'm not saying it's irresponsible. We go on TV now. The same guys on TV who tell him he should retire are some of the same considerate, or some of the same that have been through injuries and came back themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If Alex Smith was healthy, I'm not saying he said this. If Alex Smith could still do it, even with that injury, you know what he'd be doing? He wouldn't be broadcast. He'd still be playing. Most of the time, you got to drag us off the field. Usually, not everybody does what Barry Sanders or Elway does, right? Walk away after you're on top, you're great, or you won a Super Bowl. Listen, to me, I would, if he wanted my advice. First off, a concussion's not tangible to the player. I'm gonna tell you why. I had a concussion against Tampa Bay, and I got hit, and my head hit the turf in Minnesota. For a full half in the second half, I couldn't tell you when the game was over how we won or what I did until the next day watching tape. Oh, we won that. We won. And I couldn't get the signals from the sideline. I couldn't process them. We were wigwagging signals in. Steve Jordan, our Brown tight end, he was a Brown meaning from Brown, brilliant guy. He always wanted to get the signals before the play was called so he'd have a head start and getting it through his head of what his assignment was. So we got into the game, and I couldn't get the signal from the sideline, get it out of my mouth. True story. Steve would get the signals for me because he practiced the signals. And I said, Steve, you've got to tell me what it is in my ear, and I'll say it to the team. I could go to the line of scrimmage and execute the cadence and play. I couldn't keep up. It wasn't coming fast enough. And at that time, we didn't have protocol. Protocol was 2 fingers, 1 finger, look in your eyes with a flashlight.
Right.
And I wasn't coming off the field because you lie to people because you want to play. Well, Steve called it. I called it to the team, and we went and executed it. And, the same thing, go home at night, and you're hurt. Wake up the next day, feel a little better. Now, some concussions are brutal. Some may be thrown up. By Wednesday, I was ready to play again. What I mean by tangible, when you tear an Achilles, you can't play. When you get a concussion by Wednesday, if it's not a severe, but it's a concussion that you may have been stunned or hurt. You've had multiple concussions. You still, as a player, think you're invincible. And on Wednesday, you say, "Oh, I can't wait to go on Sunday." But now we have protocol that prevents players against them to guard them and protect them against themselves. My advice. So that's why you say, why would a player do it? Well, he's making money. He feels a responsibility to his team. And by Thursday or Friday the next week, if there's no headaches, he's like, man, I'm good to go, dude. I see the fingers. I'm ready to play. With a torn Achilles, you can't. Yet 40 years later, you got, your head injuries and you get bad memory. And my advice is, so that's why these guys just don't walk away. And it's what they've been doing their whole life. And so I'm not going to sit here and say, you need to retire. I'm not Tua. I'm not worried about his future right now. I'm worried about today and his family today. Now, he's made a lot of money. He's got a lot of guaranteed money. But if he feels like he can play and the medical staff passes him, he is going, he may play again. And he probably will. Most of us would, because you don't think about 20, 30, 40 years from now. You think about now. In finances, you don't think about it. You spend money now. You're like, damn, 30 years. I should have thought about it. I shouldn't have spent the money. Should have saved some. So I'm never going to tell him to retire, man. But it looks bad from us. From our distance, it's like, easy decision, retire. It's not. It's brutal. to do it. My advice to him would be talk to your family, talk to your coach, pray, do whoever you're praying to, whatever it is, and you'll know. And if you're questioning it, probably you shouldn't do it. If you're hurting on a regular basis and you can't press protocol, well, they're not going to let you on the field. It's hard to tell a guy when he's done. It is, especially when it's not tangible, because you feel like, okay, I'm good now. And most guys don't think for 30 years away. So my advice would be consult with family, with doctors. If doctors clear you, then you have a decision to make, and it is a hard one. It's almost easier for a doctor to say, you're never playing again because we can't pass the physical. Then you take the decision out of the player's hands. But I think for me, it would be irresponsible to say, I know you've had 3 concussions. They look bad to us. But if he's cleared, then the decision comes from think ahead, talk to family, talk to doctors. And if it's overwhelming that they want you to stop and you still want to play, then play. But if your family says that and you're looking at thinking kids in the future, then you got to take that in mind. What can't happen, although it does, is when it comes to health and money, health has got to be first, money second. My gut tells me that if he's cleared, he'll play again. But for reasons of because we cringe because it looks so bad, but it's hard to tell a player that, guys, when to retire. I think if he passes protocol, normally I'd say the player's going to go at it again. 3 of them in 2 years? It's awful tough to visualize. It really is. I feel bad for him because he's a great kid. That's
the great Sean Salisbury hosting his show each and every day out in Houston and closing deals and making it happen. And join Sean, of course, his regular day on Tuesday.
Yeah. And Dave, real quick, thank you. I know you guys got to go.
Yeah.
If I was in Tua's shoes at that age, and if I was cleared to play by the medical staff, I know this now. I'm not telling him what to do. Knowing I would have played. I would still play.
Even with the money in the bank.
Because then I'd feel the responsibility because I owe it to the team. Even though you don't, it happens, injuries happen. It's not a tough guy thing. It's just that's how I'm built. Now, maybe after the 4th or 5th, when you say, Sean, start thinking the future. But we don't. We think in the present with our money a lot of times and with our health. And unfortunately, sometimes we make the wrong decision. I hope Tua makes the right one. Whatever it is, we should support him and whatever that is and go forward with it. So I'll let you guys go on that. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. That's Sean Salisbury. That's the answer we were talking about. Yeah. That's the difference between Sean and you and me and Tua and a lot of these guys. They're just I don't agree.
Right.
But they're wired differently.
I knew that would be. I didn't know that would be his answer. Sure. But I thought, I've had a lot of people what would you do? What would I do? I would not play.
Right.
But I'm not in that. It's a different. And even Sean's last answer was a different one that I expected in the sense of, but all of us go, well, you've got guaranteed money, you're good. Yeah, but also I signed that that's a responsibility that I have.
Right.
I feel like I'm letting the team down. You go, that's not an angle I immediately think of. I'm thinking my brain, how's my health, my life, my family. You're letting other people. That's not an easy decision.
No.
And we all can go, I'm done, or I play, but you've got to go through all of it.
That's why we have Sean on, man. We'll take a break. When we come back, 4 down territory, lock upset.